Alright, so welcome to another video on building an e-commerce with Vue, Nuxt, Strapi, GraphQL, Docker, Stripe, and deploy on Amazon EC2. So Vue is for building user interface, Nuxt is to streamline the developing experience, Strapi is to easily manage our content outside of our application, GraphQL for performance optimizations because GraphQL actually solves two issues, overfetching and underfetching. Underfetching means that anytime we make a request to the server querying multiple collection of value, we lose time, meaning that the initial page load time or the load time increase, making the user uh, so increase the user waiting load time unnecessary. And the other issue that it solves is the overfetching, because now the server send huge amount of data unnecessary, so we need to filter out that on the client. With GraphQL, there is no need to do that. We only get what we want. And Docker is something very cool technology, because we can containerize our applications and run in any place. Stripe is to integrate payment solutions, and EC2 is to host our applications on the Amazon service, so it can be accessible to anyone on the internet. So the goal of this is to, again, see how feasible, fast, maintainable, and scalable is to build a POC e-commerce with all of this technology mentioned before. And the methodology is the design, where now here we conduct a research looking at the Nuxt templates for e-commerce. Currently, this is on beta. Okay. The Nuxt Studio, it provide also is, oh come on man, I already registered that, I already did that, so I don't exactly. Exactly, I already did this. In any case, exactly, so I don't have any Nuxt 3 applications on production. So I will leave that out, okay? Because when I navigate to Nuxt Studio, they provide is a couple templates, tailor-made templates or themes, but this is very basics, for documentation, for a blog templates or a minimal portfolio template, which is not bad, but for our use case, which is in e-commerce, that is not helpful. So that's one of the oh my god, sorry, that's one of the reasons why I choose ViewStick, okay, this user interface component library that provides a lot of components, and they also support accessibility and modern browser. Yes, okay, and modern browser support. So they are also partnered with Nuxt, Flat Logic, ViewJobs, EpicMax, and AG Grid. Cool. Because now with this, okay, this is the UI library that we choose, Strapi, again is to integrate this content. Yeah, is to integrate this content management service, this open source headless CMS, so we can now manage our content much more easy. And then you got Stripe, and there is no Stripe Nuxt 3 model here in car integration to handle online payment. Okay, so then we got this Nuxt 3 for this. All right. And now this is learn how to set up Strapi model in your Nuxt 3 application. Okay. This is the default process or Strapi URL or the local host, where by default Strapi runs. Okay. And when I navigate to, for example, so yeah, we take a closer look here at each one of the version. And okay, but in any case, okay, that's good. That's completely, totally good. So then I look at the build step, right? The methodology, the build. So first I define is the backend. Okay, so set up Strapi and understand what Strapi is, which is the whole idea is to bootstrap your API fast, help you to bootstrap your API fast. But now Strapi evolved into a open source headless CMS, so that give now developers the freedom to choose any framework or tools they want, and editors to easily manage and distribute their content through the admin app. And because Strapi is a plugin system, we can easily extend the API capability as their admin panel. And also comes with a user built-in system, so to manage in details what the admin and end users can do or have access to. Okay, so also there I define the common e-commerce data structure here. Okay, especially for the products, order items, and review, and then populate that with mock data, which actually it was very time consuming, and use GraphQL plugin to integrate with Strapi, again for performance optimization. Okay, cool. By default, this plugin, it creates an Apollo server. An Apollo is a GraphQL implementation that act as a access data layer between your mother application and the cloud, right? And Apollo GraphQLs, or particularly the Apollo, has a front end and a back end. Okay, in the front end you have front end tools that allow us to create GraphQL query, as other features like network caching or like caching, keep the clients sync with the server, in network loading state. And on the server, GraphQL server, we can use a GraphQL server, so it runs a Node.js GraphQL server, and allow to use something called subscription, that it behaves somewhat similar to push notifications. Okay, and this GraphQL plugin from Strapi comes with something called Shadow Crew, which automates the creation of type definitions, queries, mutations, and resolver based on the model we define in the admin panel. So if I go, so there is no need, for example, to install Apollo server, because actually that counts underneath the hood, or define resolvers, because anytime we create a scheme or a type on the admin panel, we will get that resolver automatically. Good, good, completely. So let me now. Let me now. Okay. Let me now show here the Visual Studio Code, right? And run the server, right? So we can say, hey, performing npm the prefix server, and here you're gonna run is oh my god, and here you're gonna run you're gonna execute this performance. I think it's this prefix no, it's this npm run develop under the server folder. No package.json with YAML file for this. But if I want to run is inside of this, the prefix server, pmp run develop, unless I say something like not important manifest found. I just wanted to use the prefix flag from npm. Okay, like this. But what if I want to right now I'm looking at this npm prefix still not working. Perhaps I'm not using it that properly. npm install prefix and the server. Okay, and npm install prefix client. So in our case is this npm run develop prefix server, not at all. I already have here an example from another repo. How can I make that? Okay, and that is it more Anyway. What about this? Okay. Let me change that to this. Okay, it actually doesn't exist. What about you? Okay. Okay. Let me change that to test. It's funny because why not? Okay, now it updates that to test. That's right. There you go. Cool. So now on test here, yeah, now on test here, okay. Nuxt, Cancun, CD, no, it's not definitely here. 02 Mastery Academy here. CD Node course, that's right. So open Visual Studio Code with this. All right, and yes, I trust the author. And here there is a command for this. So npm run install server, exactly, and npm install prefix server, and prefix server. So npm run watch. So okay, on node course, that's right. So this is the line of code that I will use in going to the e-commerce, that's right. So for some reason, when I say this npm run develop, it run, okay. But if I add the performance run develop prefix, okay, that's kind of sad. That actually is kind of sad that you're not able to run that, you know. Well, in any case, npm run develop. Okay, so now here our running is this server. Okay, that's right. And there we go, right? So when we go to the admin panel on Firefox, we got is this. That's right. For some reason, I don't know why it doesn't take that properly. No problem. No big deal. Okay, and then you gotta log in. Okay. So the whole point is this: is that with GraphQL plugins, we can easily define all of this data types, okay, and populate that data. So underneath the hood, it automates the process of creating types in the GraphQL server, of creating types, and yeah, on creating types, the defining queries, mutations, and resolvers, and define some crew basic operations, which is great, great, totally. Now, so use Strapi. So now, once the backend is done, then I jump to the front end here, set up Nuxt, and understand what is the main goal of Nuxt, which aims to improve the developer experience when building modern web applications. And because there is a lot of things that you need right now to build a modern web applications, like a JavaScript framework to bring reactivity to the server, a JavaScript framework to bring reactivity to the browser, a transpiler to use the latest features on JavaScript in the browser, whether it's Babel or TypeScript. Also, you need is hot model replacement, a dev server that allows you to do that, so you don't have to hit F5 or refresh the page anytime you do an update in your code. And deploy your code in any JavaScript platform, whether it's Node or web workers or serverless. Also, define a client-side routing navigation where this might be using view router in our case, and this is just the tip of an iceberg. So here with Nuxt, I just make a quick recap of based on their website. Okay, so delivering an optimized user experience. So optimizations like code splitting, tree shaking, optimized cold start, and link prefetching. Rendering strategy like server-side rendering, client-side rendering, static site generators, incremental static regeneration, which is another, stale while revalidating, and something called ESR that I barely know about. SEO and web vitals. Okay, so by leveraging is the server-side rendering, ESM format, and optimization image, Nuxt websites are indexable by search engine while giving the feeling of an app to the end user. Discover new developer experience with plug and play, which it comes with a very intuitive directory. It comes with a very intuitive directory structures, automation. Okay, so repetitive tasks like auto import, typings, minifications, bundling for productions, and more. Embedded includes like data fetching, state management using Pinia, meta tag helpers for to improve CEO, route guards for security, cookies, error handling, bundle analyzer, and more. And a community of web builders from NPN, Discord, GitHub, and Twitter. So this is the introduction. Okay. A very interesting and important introduction. So I'm going to make again a quick recap of this, all right? Because this is very, very, very important, especially if you're going to provide Nuxt service. So you need to understand the know-how of this. So you got the introduction. So Nuxt allows to create type-safe, performance, and production-grade full-stack web apps and website with Vue. Very, very important to understand this introduction. Okay. So after all, Nuxt 3 allows to create type-safe, performance, and production-grade full-stack web apps and website with Vue. And that's exactly what we're gonna build here, a web app. We can start writing .view files from the beginning while enjoying hot model replacement and performing production server-side rendering by default. Two important concepts here. HMR, hot model replacement, so we don't have on the element refresh our page every time we make a code update or we make a change in our code, and performance production server-side rendering by default. Yeah, and performance production, exactly. So performance production server-side rendering by default. So Nuxt has no vendor login, allowing you to deploy your application anywhere, even on the edge. So this is just the introduction. So after all, Nuxt allows to create type-safe, performance, and production-grade full-stack web apps and websites with Vue. And we can start writing our Vue files from the beginning while enjoying the hot model replacement and performing production server and performing production server-side rendering by default. Okay, so this is just the introduction. And then I look at other topics, very important here. Okay, like the automations and conventions. So on the automation and convention, you have file-based routing. So you define your fold, or you can define route. Following is the structure of defining folders inside the page. Okay, this can make it easy to organize your applications and avoid the need for manual route configuration. You have part of the automation and convention, file-based routing, code splitting. Nuxt automatically split your code into smaller chunks, which can help reduce the initial load time. Important, we can help reduce the initial load time of your application. Then you have server-side rendering, okay, out of the box. So Nuxt comes with built-in server-side rendering capabilities, so you don't have to set up a separate server yourself. Okay. So server-side rendering out of the box or by default. Auto imports, again, a repetitive task. So you can write your Vue composables and components in the respective directory and use them without having to import them, with the benefit of tree shaking and optimized JavaScript bundle. So every time you have to import a particular model and you check if that model was used or not, Nuxt by default import only the necessary models and only import the important, so only import the relevant imports or the relevant models imported with the benefit of tree shaking and optimized JavaScript bundles. Data fetching utilities and Nuxt provide composables to handle server-side rendering compatible data fetching as well as different strategies. Okay, interesting. Especially for server-side application, where now the server fully render the HTML and serve that to the browser. So the client, in this, or in the case of the web crawlers or the search engine, now they know what to do to index your website. Okay. Zero config TypeScript support. Write type-safe code without having to learn TypeScript. Exactly. without having to learn TypeScript with our auto-generated types and tsconfig JSON. Configure build tools. We use Vite. Again, this is the next generation of front-end tooling. By default, it is built on Go, or it was written on Go. By default, support hot model replacement in development and bundle your code for production with best practice baking. The bundle for production it used underneath the hood is rollout for that. So Vite is used on the development and rollout is being used on for production. So this is the automation and conventions that Nuxt provide us. So it facilitates this. Okay. So file-based routing. So define all your route under the page directory. Code splitting. So Nuxt automatically split your code into a smaller chunk, which can help reduce the initial load time. Server-side rendering by default. So Nuxt comes with built-in server-side rendering capabilities. So you don't have to set up a separate server yourself. Auto import, write view composables, and write view composables and components in the respective auto imports. With auto import is Nuxt give us the benefit of tree shaking and an optimized JavaScript bundle whenever we don't use a particular model. So auto import models, data fetching utilities. So Nuxt provide composables to handle server-side rendering compatible data fetching as well as different strategies. This data fetching utilities. So Nuxt provide composables to handle server-side rendering compatible. Okay. So Nuxt provide composables. Again, this is part of the Vue 3 concept, composable functions. So Nuxt provide composables to handle server-side rendering compatible data fetching as well as different strategies. Okay. Zero config TypeScript support and configure build tools. We use Vite by default to support hot model replacement in development and bundle your code for production using rollout or with best practice baked in. So this is part of the automations and introductions, automation and convention. Okay. So after all, Nuxt 3 allows to create type safe performance in production grade full stack web apps and websites with the benefit of hot model replacement and performing production server and performing production server-side rendering by default. Okay, so Nuxt has no vendor login, allowing you to deploy your app anywhere, even to the edge. So this is the main benefit of this, the introduction of Nuxt, right? That allows to create type-safe performance production-grade full-stack web apps and websites while enjoying the hot model replacement and a production or a performance production server side rendering by default. Okay, so the automation and convention is file-based routing. Okay, so files-based routing, code splitting, server-side rendering, auto import, data fetching utilities, zero config TypeScript support, and configure build tools. Okay, and when I look at the server-side rendering here, so faster initial page load time, faster initial page load time. So Nuxt sends a fully rendered HTML, that's right. Nuxt sends a fully rendered HTML page to the browser, which can be displayed immediately and improve the user experience as the CEO, search engine optimization, because the content is immediately available. Better performance on low power device because it reduces the amount of JavaScript that needs to be downloaded and parsed in the client side, which can be beneficial for low power device that may struggle with processing heavy JavaScript applications. Better accessibility, so improving the accessibility for users who rely on screen readers or other assistive technologies. Easier caching, so page can be cached on the server side, which can further improve performance by reducing the amount of time it takes to generate and send the content to the client. So this is the benefit of the server-side rendering. Okay, so faster initial page load time, improved CEO, better performance on low-power device because now there is no need that the client uh, so it reduces the amount of JavaScript that the client needs to download and execute. Better accessibility because the content is immediately available on the initial page load, improving accessibility. Easier caching, so we can indicate on the server which page you want to catch to improve further performance and reducing the amount of initial and reducing the amount of time it takes to generate and send the content to the client. As Nuxt is a versatile framework, it gives you the possibility to statically render your whole application to a static site using Nuxt Generate. Disable server-side rendering globally with server-side options, or leverage hybrid rendering by setting up route rules. Okay. Then I look at the server engine. So the Nuxt server engine Nitro unlock new full stack capabilities. Okay. It tells you all of this. So the server engine, the Nuxt server engine Nitro unlocks new full stack capabilities in development and in production. When you talk about a server engine, when you talk about engine, it's a machine. So let me ask ChatGPT here. When we talk about engine on software engineering, what do we mean? To the core component of a software system that is responsible for processing and manipulating data. An engine can be thought as the heart of software application, and it provides the underlying logic and functionality that allows the software to perform its intended task. It is intended task as a server. Okay, as a server, which is receive and send. Okay, which is receive and send. Receive, so handling incoming requests and sending response. Engines are often designed to handle a specific type of data or task, such as processing audio or video, performing calculations, or managing database. In some cases, an engine may be a standalone component that can be used by other software applications, while in other cases, it may be integrated directly into larger software systems. Regardless how it is used, the engine is typically a critical component of the software application, and its performance and readability are essential to overall success of the system. But after all, it is responsible for processing and manipulating data. So when you talk about engine, an engine can be thought of the heart of the software application, as it provides the underlying logic and functionality that allows the software to perform its intended task. So this software, or this piece of software, which is the heart of the intent task, okay, when we talk about server engine, so it's the heart of the software application and provides underlying logic, and it provides logic and functionality that allows the software to perform specific tasks. So when we talk about an engine, so when we talk about the engine, it is the heart of a software application. Okay, it is the heart of the software application that provides an underlying logic and functionality for that specific task. In our case, the server. So since the server engine is the heart of the software application that provide an underlying logic and set of capabilities to perform a specific task, in this case to be a server. So Nuxt Server Engine Nitro unlocks new full stack capabilities. So in development, it uses rollup and Node.js workers for your server code and context isolation. Okay, exactly. In development, interesting. In development, it uses rollup and Node.js workers. So it uses what? In development, it uses this? Lol. Really? Lol, really? So if I look at this, so lol, using rollup. Let me look at Nuxt here. The Nuxt 3. Lol, well, get started. So it used by default. This is the introduction. What? In development, it used rollup and Node.js worker. And Node.js worker. Node.js workers. And worker threads. Okay, to bring. What is Node.js workers? It's a separate execution context that can be created and managed by the main Node.js process. So workers are often used to offload heavy computation tasks to separate thread or process. Exactly, it's to bring by using workers, Node.js application can take advantage of the multiple CPU core, something that with Something that with cluster we weren't able to do that. By using cluster, Node.js application can take advantage of the full power of multi-core system, resulting in improving performance. But the thing here is that it's a way to take advantage of the multiple core system by creating multiple Node.js processes. But here in Node.js, a worker is a separate execution context that can be created and managed by main Node.js process. And workers are often used to offload heavy computational tasks to separate threads or process. We're here by creating multiple Node.js processes that share the same server port. Each process is a cluster is referred to as a worker, and they can handle all incoming requests. But cluster is focused on input and output, where now workers are focused on heavy computational tasks. So by using workers, Node.js application can take advantage of the multiple CPU core and distribute computational workload more efficient. This can lead to improved performance and scalability, especially in applications that perform heavy computations or input and output bound tasks. However, it is important to know that managing worker and coordinating between them can add complexity to an application, and careful design and testing is necessary to ensure that the benefit of using worker outweigh the cost. So for your server code and constant isolation, but the okay, so it doesn't rely on Vite, okay, because after all, it's taking advantage of the Node.js workers, that built-in model. It take advantage of the worker. Using web worker here. By taking advantage of the multiple core. So models enable to use of threads that execute JavaScript in parallel. So with cluster, we can have one instance per process or per threads, where now here, where with workers, we can have multiple instances per thread. As useful for performing CPU-intense JavaScript operations, they do not help much with input and output intense work. The Node.js built-in asynchronous input and output operations are more efficient than workers can be. The Node.js built-in asynchronous input and output operations are more efficient than workers can be. Unlike child process or cluster, worker thread can share memory. Exactly. Unlike child process or cluster, worker threads can share memory. They do so by transferring array buffer and instead of sharing instance. The above example spawned worker thread for each parse, yes. But to understand the fundamental, it's like that. It's like, it can share memory. Okay. This is to perform intense CPU tasks in CPU intense JavaScript operations, such as bundle your code, okay, for your server code and context isolation. So, for example, bundle your code in development. Okay, it also generates your server API by reading files in server API and server middleware from server middleware. In production, Nitro builds your app and server into one universal output directory, and this output is light, minified, and removed from any Node.js model except polyfills. You can deploy this output on any system supporting JavaScript, from Node.js serverless workers edge side rendering, or purely static. And this is very interesting concept here. And important things to know that the server engine, and an engine is the heart of a software application that provides certain capability to perform that specific task. A server. So with Nitro, it gives us new full stack capabilities. So in development, it uses rollup a Node.js worker, I'm assuming allegedly, to bundle your code, okay, or for the initial bundling, or for the cold start, from your server code and context isolation. It also generates your server API by reading files in server API and server middleware from server middleware. In production, Nitro builds your app and server into one universal output directory. This output is live, verified, and removed from any Node.js model, except polyfills. So you can deploy this output on any system supporting JavaScript from Node.js, serverless, worker, edge-side rendering, or purely static. Read more about Nuxt server engine. You have production ready. A Nuxt application can be deployed on Node or Dino server, pre-rendered to be hosted in static environments, or deployed to serverless and edge providers. And it is modular, right? A model system allows you to extend Nuxt with custom features and integration with third-party services. And the architecture here. So what you have is the core engine, okay, that allows this engine with Nuxt to create type-safe, performance, and production-grade web apps and websites. Bundlers using the Nuxt vBundle or Webpack Builder, command line interface, server engine, okay, again, the heart of the software application that provide certain capability for that specific task, for the server, okay, on development and on production, development kit, okay, and Nuxt 2 bridge. Okay, all right. There is a lot of content here, and it was wide opening. So that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.